So.
Sorry.
Wait.
This is not uncomfortable, but it's very weird.
This is the thing?
This is the one.
Absolutely. And now it almost couldn't have happened in a better way.
Where do you want to be?
So it was just like,
Am I funny? Now if I go over here, am I still funny?
Better strategy.
Yeah, way better.
I never thought about that.
Yes, it worked
I
out.
don't see it 5 years from now that you're not my most famous friend.
You really have to commit to something. Good to have something pushing you.
That's cool. That was really cool.
Yeah, it might be cool.
This is On the Cusp.
Hello and welcome to On the Cusp. I'm Ben Greene and today our guest is Jon Mackey. He's a beloved improviser on the UCB Herald team Winslow. He is 1/4 of the fantastic sketch team Big Grande, and he is a wonderful editor for websites like Funny or Die and CollegeHumor, and we're lucky to have him on the show today. Today's episode is sponsored by Thai Pepper at 6219 Franklin Avenue. Thai Pepper has a menu that can't be beat with both Thai egg rolls and fried wontons for the low price of $3.95. Thai Pepper. Better than a black tie event. Better than Dr. Pepper. It's Thai Pepper. So I've actually known Jon Mackey for a pretty long time because we went to the same college, the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. But I didn't really know him at UNC. I got to know Jon better when I moved out to LA. And Jon was actually in one of the first sketch groups I ever did out here. A sketch group called The Great Opportunity that was him, me, Drew Tarver, and Mano Agapian. And the funny thing about The Great Opportunity is that I pretty much screwed up being a part of that group. It was early on in my time in LA, and I was still trying to figure out the balance between doing comedy and making enough money to survive. So early on in being in The Great Opportunity, I got a job as a researcher on a dance competition show called Your Chance to Dance. Really stupid show. But because I wanted to be making money, I took it very seriously. And pretty quickly at that job, almost everybody was fired, and I got promoted to being a coordinator. So I found myself working from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., doing a lot of things that had to do with being a part of a dance competition show and not having much time left to further my comedy career. And then I got promoted to being a associate producer on the show. And this made me kind of cocky and made me go, I don't need the comedy world. And in fact, the comedy world is getting in my way of producing these fantastic dance segments. I was stressed out about having to balance my job and doing all these things in the comedy world. So I actually quit The Great Opportunity right before we had what would have been my first Spank show at UCB. Now, I probably quit The Great Opportunity in July, and by August, my job at Your Chance to Dance ended, and I was left unemployed again, and I was left looking around going, where's my comedy life? And I felt like I'd kind of lost it. So it was a decision that I kind of came to regret over the next couple of years. It ended up being okay because I ended up forming a group that I've always been really excited about, Hamilton 100 with my great friends Mary Sasson and Robert Stevens. But I'll always think it's funny that I chose a dance competition show over a group that was literally called The Great Opportunity. So now let's turn to my interview with my old teammate from The Great Opportunity and a good friend of mine today, Jon Mackey.
This Diet Coke is perfect.
There's another one where it came from.
I'll let you know. I'll let you know, Ben. I'll let you know. Sorry. I'll be myself now, because that's what this podcast is about. It's about me being myself, right?
It's about, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
No, we're not doing improv for humans.
Shed all the characters, get all the characters out.
No characters.
No, I don't have any.
No joking.
No joking.
No.
Okay. Good. That's good.
I think laughing sounds weird in any podcast.
So don't laugh. Good. Okay, great. I get the gist of this. Awesome. Let's do it, man. Are we doing it? We're currently doing it.
Yeah.
It's rolling.
Wait, when did you move to LA? Before me.
Yeah, I moved to LA in July of 2008. Early July 2008. I packed up a suitcase, jumped on a plane, and came out here. I think it's weird. A lot of people I know like drove out here, so they like get the distance. They get, oh man, I drove from East Coast to West Coast, so I know how far it is. But I've never done that. I've only ever flown. So like, I think I still don't have a grasp of how far I am from home.
So far.
Yeah, I'm so far from home. But to me, it's just it's like a 5-hour plane ride.
Were you scared when you moved to LA?
I wasn't scared. I wasn't scared because like when I moved out here, like 25 people from my immediate circle in Chapel Hill, where we went to school, like 25 people moved out here that summer. So like I knew coming out here that I would have like sort of a network of people that I could like count on to like be around. And I also have an aunt that lives in Culver City, so I moved out here and I lived with her for 4 months while I like found a job and all that kind of stuff. So like I knew I wasn't like scared of the things that like people are scared of when they move places, of like being completely on their own and like, not knowing anyone and like having to like sort of start your life over. So I wasn't scared of those things. I think the thing that like scared me and like still scares me a lot is like not necessarily knowing if it's the right move. You know what I mean? Like I think that's probably the one thing that I'm consistently afraid of, is like making the wrong choice or like doing the wrong thing and it not being right. But me not knowing it until it's like proven to me that it's not right. Which I guess it hasn't happened yet, because none of my decisions have been proven negative yet. So I think I did right.
Yeah, you'll find out just on your deathbed whether it was all the right decision.
Yeah, if anyone remembers anything I've done, that's when I'll really know.
But that feels like a pretty magical thing to come out with, like 25 friends. Yeah. Were they like a lot of the people you would have picked to move out to LA with? Yeah,
well, the big thing moving out here is I had never thought of moving. I was going to stay in North Carolina and I was going to be in a band. Like that was my dream at the time. And like I remember I was in a band at the time that I really loved, and like I loved the guys in the band. And like I remember having a conversation with Casey Trela, who lives out here now. He moved out here with me. And I didn't know that that would even be an option for him. And I remember having that conversation with him of just being like, hey man, I know we've like wanted to do like music and stuff, but like I just like feel like I need to do something else. I need to move. I need to try something else. So I think I'm gonna like just take this opportunity to like move to California with all of these people that we know, and like see what it's like out there. And he was like, I'd never thought about that. I think I'm gonna do it too. So then like the thing I was scared of him like being upset that I was gonna like walk away from our band and like walk away from all that, ended up being like the thing that got him out here, and now he's out here and in another successful band and like very happy. And I don't know, it's like it's all kind of worked out, I guess.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Had you ever been to Los Angeles before you like moved here?
No. I at the time when I moved out here, I had not been to a state that didn't touch the Atlantic Ocean.
Gee whiz.
I was like I'd been all up and down the Atlantic coast, but I'd never ventured west in any capacity, and so it was like a huge thing for me to like move so far away. And like also I've still never been to a state that doesn't touch water.
You gotta go on a road trip.
I need to go on a road trip. Yeah, the whole center of the United States is just not. It's a thing I don't know.
What did LA mean to you? Was it like the place you go as a musician to get discovered?
I think I didn't lose faith in music as a career, but I think through multiple conversations with like my mom and like people, like I just thought about like you can't like bank on it. You can't bank on music. And at the time, I had no interest in getting in comedy. Like, I was like, I'm going to move, like, my goal, or like the thing I said I was going to do out here was I was going to come out here and get a job in post-production and end up being an editor. Like, that was like the track I thought I wanted at the time. So, like, it was
very
like,
practical.
Yeah, it was like, I didn't have, like, the dream that people, like, move to Hollywood and become a huge star, like, be a rock star, be an actor, be any of that kind of stuff. I, like, wanted to move out here and get like, a day job, just in a different city. But it was just, like, a skill that I had worked on. Like, I was, like, working a lot in, like, film and stuff while I was in school, and, like, since all my friends were moving out here to get into, like, the film industry, I was like, well, I mean, if I'm gonna pick anything, like, let's pick a thing I'm, like, decent at, and it's, like, practical. And then I moved out here, like, thinking that at this point, almost 7 years later, I would be, like, an editor. And I kind of am. That's how I make most of the money that I make is from freelance editing. But, like, my life has, like, sort of blossomed into such a bigger thing, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, and it feels like you're going for a pretty big dream right now.
Yeah.
Like, not a practical dream.
Yeah.
But, like, the hardest thing to make happen.
Yeah. Like, comedy. What? But, yeah, no, I think that, like, the interesting thing for me over the past, like, 2 or 3 years, when I started to sort of realize, like, I guess it's been, like, 4. I've been like, doing comedy for, like, 6 of the years I've been out here. So in the past like 4 years, I think, is when I realized that, like, oh shit, I think, like, no, like, this is the thing I'm excited about. This is the thing I want to do. It's been, like, really cool to, like, create the life that I need in order to, like, be comfortable financially and also be available, which was not the case. Like, until a year ago or 2 years ago, I was like, I had a job. I couldn't focus on anything but, like, going into work. But, like, yeah, over the course of the last couple of years, just, like, really figuring out how to, like, do both things.
Struck up a really nice balance.
Yeah, yeah. The unfortunate thing about moving to Hollywood and, like, trying to get into comedy or acting or anything is, like, people have that sort of, like, ideal dream of, like, oh, I'm gonna book a thing and I'm gonna be set forever. But, like, I think, like, the true, like, Hollywood dream is to just, like, be happy with where you're at, and, like, be okay with the fact that, oh, I have to, like, do these other things to make it so that these other things that I find more worthwhile are able to also happen. And I've lucked out in that, like, I've gotten to work on some really cool stuff. Like, so the jobs that I do right now are very fun most of the time.
Like, you're editing stuff for Funny or Die.
Yeah.
Not industrial
soap
commercials.
Yeah. I'm not industrial soap commercials. That would, oh my god. Yeah. That'd be the worst. No, I, like, get to edit, like, something that I find truly funny for a director that I find truly funny with a producer who has become a very good friend of mine.
Like, what are some current editing projects?
Well, I worked on... most recently, the thing that I'm most proud of anything I've ever worked on is this web series called Boy Search that Funny or Die did, where they sincerely put together a boy band. And I edited, like, the last 5 of 8 episodes of that show.
It's so funny.
It's the funniest thing in the world to me. And, like... I think that, like, having, like, sort of the skills of comedy, that sounds stupid, but, like, I feel like people trust me as an editor for comedic stuff because I am also focused on this other stuff, that, like, I'm doing comedy, I'm producing comedy, I'm constantly thinking about what's funny. So I think it's helped me, like, sort of make a mark in terms of, like, oh, that guy's a good comedy editor. And it's also, like, helpful to, like, make things like that. Like, to edit a thing, because it helps when I'm going to make that next thing for myself. Like, oh, I know how it has to get put together in the end, so it just makes everything a little bit easier.
Yeah, you're using that part of your brain all the time.
Yeah. Literally 100% of the time, my brain is thinking about what's funny. And that's pretty cool.
Really cool, except for when tragedy happens, and then... Even
then, you know, I'm looking past tragedy. No. there are tragedies, and I do get sad. I do get sad, Ben. I do get sad.
So not 100% of the time.
So not 100% of the time. So like maybe like 88% of my life I'm thinking about what's funny.
That's a really good percentage.
Yeah, I think there's not a lot of people who can say that. Which is, I don't know how their lives happen. People who don't have a sense of humor scare me.
Well, like David Sedaris spends probably like 58% of his time thinking about what's like daintily ironic.
Him just sitting on his couch, just like tapping his fingers together. What's ironic about this thing? Yeah, his life's different than mine. All of our lives are different. Isn't that weird?
It is. So you're always from North Carolina. You were born there?
I was not born there.
What?
Yeah, I know, right? I was born in New York, on Long Island.
We were born right next to each other.
Yeah. I was born on Long Island, but I only lived there until I was like 18 months old. So like I don't.
Where in Long Island?
Northport? Is that a place?
I have no idea.
I think
all I know is Merrick.
Yeah, I don't know. My grandma still lives near where I was born, I think.
Born to like Long Island people?
Yeah, my mom was like born and raised in Long Island. My dad was born. Where was he born? I want to say like Yonkers or something. Some other like weird New York town. So not Long Island, but like
Yonkers.
Yeah.
The people who named Yonkers didn't give it a great...
Yeah. So like they were both New York people. And like, yeah, I was born in New York, and then when I was 18 months old, I think my parents moved to Virginia. So I like, until I was like 4, I lived in Virginia. My parents got a divorce, and then my mom remarried a couple years later, and we moved to North Carolina. So I think when I was 6, I moved to North Carolina when I was 6. But like most of my life was like spent in and around the South. So I just like, I claim it.
You have many vibrant Virginia memories?
I remember the beach in Virginia. That was like, I remember, there's actually two very distinct memories I have in Virginia. One was when my house got termites, and my grandma was visiting, and she, I have this distinct memory of her coming into my room to like tell me and my brother that the house was getting like tented or something, to like deal with termites, so we had to leave, and she had a termite in a plastic bag to show me like what it was, and like I looked at it and it was just like a bug in a bag. So I remember that, and then I remember a bug in a bag, but then I remember like the beach. I think it was called Sandbridge, which is a beach in Virginia that we would always go to, and I have like distinct memories of like walking on that beach with my mom, and my grandma is in like all of my memories in Virginia. So I'm wondering if like I'm just remembering one trip or something, or maybe my grandma just is in my subconscious and she wasn't ever there. She's just like somehow in my brain.
That's kind of sweet.
Yeah.
Do you have like negative memories of your parents' divorce from when it actually happened?
I was super young. I don't really have, like, I don't remember the like sort of, I don't really remember a lot in terms of their relationship, really. Because I was like 3 years old, I think, when they separated. So like that's like a weird time in your life where you don't really have like coherent memories, I think. And I remember like sort of the time between when they got separated and when they finally got a divorce. And I remember like just like little snapshots of it. Like I remember the day that my mom came home from court and like had the divorce finalized, because I was sitting on the couch. My cousin was watching me and my brother. I was sitting on the couch listening to a disc, like a Walkman, like a cassette tape with the headphones that were like just a thin metal band and 2 little like puffy bulbs on the end. You know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. And I was listening to an MC Hammer tape. And I remember seeing my mom park out front, like through the window and like come inside. But I don't like, I was so young that like there was never really like a conversation. Like there was never that like this is what's happening. I just kind of like witnessed it and then realized, oh, like now it's like we're not the same. And I have like a very like faint memory of like the day that like my mom like told my dad that she was getting separated, because I remember
interesting.
My mom was mowing the backyard because my uncle was getting married at our house in our backyard. So my mom was mowing the lawn and my dad was asleep. And it was like 11:30 in the afternoon, or like in the morning. I remember, like, I just remember that, like, I remember the two locations. She was outside, my dad was asleep. And then there's like a chunk of stuff that I don't remember. And then I remember sitting in bed with my dad, and my dad was just like crying and like telling me and my brother that he was like not going to see us as much anymore. And that's like all I remember. It's like those two little snapshots.
Wow.
Which is weird, because I don't like think that I'd like to think that I don't have like negative feelings about it, and I'm not like repressing anything. But then when I think about it, it's like, oh shit, I like don't have a lot of the information in these memories. So there's probably like stuff I'm like subconsciously like not thinking about. But like I don't have like a lot of like negative memories of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Really. Like I don't like, there's not like pictures. I don't like see crazy shit happening, because I don't think that like nothing like super crazy happened.
Yeah, well, when I talked to Ryan Rosenberg, he talked about being a person who whose parents got divorced but wasn't like super negatively affected in his mind by their divorce.
Yeah.
And you feel that similar way?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think that like the consequences of the divorce like have like had like interesting effects. Just in sort of the long term, because like, I mean, in like the terms of like my mom got custody of me and my brother, so we lived with her, so like that just made it so I didn't see my dad as often, which I think that like whether you like want to or not, I think like proximity like affects how close you are to someone. So like I've through the years, I mean, I've had a fine relationship with my dad. I just don't see him as often. I never saw him as often, so like there is like that weird sort of power imbalance that in my brain of like who not who was the most important parent, but it's like it's just weird that happens, because it wasn't a conscious thing. It's just like I spent so much more time with my mom that like my relationship with her is very strong, and then she got remarried, and like my stepdad is a really great guy who like taught me a lot as a guy, as a person. And my dad's a good guy too. He's just like, he lives in New York. He lived all over the place. Like he moved to North Carolina for a little while and like was living with my uncle who lived out there, and then he like lived in Virginia, but then now he lives back up in New York now. So I usually see him like once a year these days. And it's weird that like I don't think that I was ever negatively affected by the fact that my parents divorced. I think it's more just like I had less of a relationship with my dad, which is a bummer in a lot of ways. But I think it's also like it's just like the way it happens. But yeah.
What does he do for a living?
He was a chef like when I was growing up. Like that was like his thing. And I think he still cooks at like a country club. Like he's a chef at a country club now. But he also is a like drug and alcohol counselor. Like he works for like a facility that does that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's like I think for a while he was trying to like transition more into that world and out of cooking, but I think he's kind of got a balancing thing going on now where he's doing both. And
have your mom and stepdad always done the same thing?
Yeah. My mom's been a teacher her whole life. She retired 2 years ago, or a year ago. She was a teacher. She taught 6th grade, 4th grade, kindergarten, and then preschool. So she worked her way down. And then my stepdad was the superintendent of the school system in my hometown. And before that, he was a guidance counselor. So they've both been in education forever. And they're the greatest people.
Ever in the same school that you were in?
Yeah, my mom taught in the elementary school that I was in. I wasn't in her class, I think consciously. I think that was a choice on the school and on her part.
Was it weird having a mom who was a teacher?
It was
who
cool.
Other kids had?
I liked it.
Yeah.
Mostly because my mom was like a teacher that kids liked. So I think I got treated really nicely. Like I didn't have to deal with a lot because like my mom was there. So I didn't get bullied very much because people knew like, oh, his mom's a teacher, his dad's a superintendent, I'm not gonna mess with him. But then also like I think people really liked my mom. Like she's a great teacher, and like some of my best friends, like to this day, my best friend from home, was in my mom's class in 4th grade, and is like a brother to me and my brother, and like my mom like loves him, his mom loves me. Like we're like, it's like, because my mom was his teacher, they got close, and me and him got close, and we became like very like tight. So I think that's like the difference between me and other people. I think is that my mom being in the school wasn't like embarrassing or anything. It was like a trophy or like a thing I could champion. Like, oh yeah, my mom is that 4th grade teacher that you all love. So people were like, oh yeah, man, you're cool. You're cool. You're good, man. You're good.
Oh, you were with her?
Yeah.
Awesome.
She's yours? Great! She's not mine. She's her own woman. She's my mom, though. I'm hers. Really? I guess in the end, I'm her property. But
I'm picturing you saying all that as a 7-year-old.
I'm hers, really. I also had a speech impediment for a really long time, which is cool.
What was your speech impediment?
I don't know if it was a speech impediment or like a sleeping New York accent that would just like come out. But like I had a problem with alls. I was like the kid who said alls like this, like Cheerios, like wook. I gotta do some wook, like that kind of stuff.
I love it. The idea that that's a sleeping New York accent.
But it's like. Because also I did as a kid have like a little bit of a New York thing going on.
Trying to go to the Upper West Side.
Yeah.
I'll take you there.
Yeah. Because like my mom still had an accent a little bit for a long time until she like married my stepdad and like we moved to North Carolina. And then all of our accents sort of like pushed towards the middle. Because now I don't really think I have an accent. I think I'm pretty neutral. But like when I was a kid, I sounded crazy.
And sorry, what area of North Carolina was this that you moved to when you were 6?
We moved to northeastern North Carolina, which is like close to the Outer Banks.
Yeah,
like
that's cool.
Yeah. I think I
like the Outer Banks when I'm gone.
I took it for granted. I think it became too common for me, so I don't appreciate it the way that I should. But like, it's very like rural. Mostly farmland. Like my town is like less than a mile square. Like the actual town proper. Like we're just very, very, very small.
Population?
800. Or at least that's what Wikipedia says.
So that's the population now. It may have doubled.
Yeah. Because as a kid, I mean, like I knew everybody. That's why it's so weird. I still to this day, like when people like say like they're from a city that I know someone else from, I'm always like, oh, do you know so-and-so? So like I met a guy from Arizona the other day, and like my roommate is from Arizona, and I was like, oh, do you know Dan? And they're like, what? No, like Tucson, Arizona is a huge city. No, I don't know your friend. There's like 400,000 people. But for me, it's like if someone else said, oh, my cousin lived in Columbia, North Carolina in those years. Like, oh, what's his name? If they said his name, 100%, absolutely, I would know who it was.
That's really cool.
Yeah, because my school was like super small. I had like 27 people in my graduating class.
That's really small.
Yeah, I think the whole school had like 300 people in it, maybe or less.
What do you think your reputation was amongst those like 27?
That's interesting. I think that like depending on what era of school we jumped back to, my reputation was a lot different.
So elementary school.
In elementary school, I was like, kids liked me. I was like, I had a lot of friends. I was like really cool.
Funny?
I mean, not consciously funny, but like I can remember like bits and pieces of like fun jokes I would do. I was also like, I was kind of maybe a little bit mean in elementary school too. Like I did like mean things sometimes. Like I can remember a few instances of like I stole like $1 out of a girl's desk. But then I felt guilty about it later, so I bought her a big cookie at lunch.
That's really nice.
And then just gave it to her as if it was just a present.
And it sounds like you kind of sound guilty about it.
I still feel very guilty about it. That's one of the things that I will regret for the rest of my life. But then like another time, like I drew something like very obscene on a desk in like 2nd or 3rd grade, and the teacher saw it, and I blamed it on like this girl that nobody liked, which is like so shitty. Such a shitty thing to do.
What was the picture?
I can't remember. I just remember it being like someone else saw it and like being like, ugh. Like I think it was like, I'm pretty sure it was like a naked person or something.
And that girl was sent to jail.
Yeah. She got in trouble for sure. I can't remember what her punishment was. But yeah, so like elementary school, like I had a lot of friends and I was like well liked, but I think I did all the things that kids do to try to make people like them, which is like, ugh, gross. And then in middle school, I got like really obsessed with like wanting people to like me and like wanting to be like cool. But like cool in my hometown didn't mean the same thing as it does to other people. Like in my hometown, the guys who were cool were like the like hick guys who were like just into hunting and didn't care about school and like wore camouflage to school every day and like snuck alcohol into school in an orange juice bottle, like those kind of guys. We didn't really have like the jock class. It was all like those guys were the guys who played sports, and they were the guys who like hung out after school in the parking lot sitting in the bed of trucks of their like older brothers. So like middle school I was like trying really hard to be like those dudes. So I tried to like be a little bit more like southern, like to embrace like the like countryness of the place where I was, and that always felt weird. It's stupid. Like when you know you're not something to try to be something.
Did you go hunting?
I never went hunting, but the main reason for that though is like we didn't have the proximity that people usually have. Like these guys, like people lived 10 miles away from me. Like I had 1 or 2 friends that lived on my street, but we lived far away from people. So it was like, as a kid, you don't have a car, you can really only hang out in your neighborhood. So like me and like the 2 kids who lived in my street would hang out, but like I didn't have the ability to like go and hang out with people really. And not that I would have wanted to either, because like hunting was never exciting to me.
But you would wear a camouflage.
But I would wear a camouflage hat or whatever if I needed to. But like that was weird. It was weird because like I think it was always like people could tell that I wasn't that kind of person. So I never really like folded myself into that group of guys. And that just kind of kind of going into high school. I got really into music. Like that was when I started playing music in middle school, and I got really into music.
Guitar?
I started playing bass first, because my brother played guitar, and we were like, I didn't want to double up, so I bought a bass guitar and like learned how to play bass a little bit. And then when I got to high school, we like started a band. Like me and my brother and like 2 of our friends started a band, and like my brother was a senior when I was a freshman. So like that for that 1 year in high school, we had a band and we had fun and stuff. But then he moved away and the band broke up. And I, at that point, was like getting like really into like punk rock and like harder music. So like,
from what was before the harder music?
Like before that and like middle school, like music wasn't even really a thing for me. If I think about it, like I kind of just listened to whatever. Like my brother had started to get into punk, so I probably listened to a little bit of that. But then like, I mean, just like what was on the radio, like whatever was on the radio was what I was listening to. But then yeah, in like high school, I got like really into punk rock, and like No Effects and like all that kind of stuff. And I like, for the first like through the first 3 years of high school, I was like going that direction, but never really like jumped over the edge, like into like being like my own dude. Like I still was very conscious of the fact that I I couldn't be that into this weird thing that nobody else liked or nobody would talk to me. So I was a little bit more reserved about that. But then junior year of high school, between junior and senior year, I went to governor's school, which is like this like summer program for like gifted kids or whatever. That sounds so stupid. But I went to this program and like it was the first time that I kind of like experienced like culture in any way, like outside of just like the southern stereotype of what like life is. So like when I went to this program, I like met all these people and I was like, oh my god, I met like the first person I've ever met who was openly gay. Like I like interacted with people who had like very like progressive ideas and that was the point when I just like kicked it into high gear and I turned into a nightmare. Like in terms, not a nightmare. I just like was very like I got like super liberal and like really kind of like threw a middle finger up to everything that like happened in my hometown. Like all the things that people liked, I was like that sucks. Everybody sucks. I'm the only person who's like worth anything.
That's the right wing South's nightmare about governor's school.
Yeah, it is. I realized the like nightmare of like the people who are trying to shut governor's school down. I was exposed to the hippie liberal agenda, and it worked. But then, so I went back to high school, like, that senior year, and it was like, oh, fuck, this sucks. And, like, you could talk to my mom. There was just, like, a time where I was just, like, so upset that, like, I had to still be in my hometown, like, knowing what I knew now. You know, like, having seen the light, like, I was so upset that I had to still deal with this. And that, my senior year ended up being, like, I wouldn't say that I alienated myself from people, but, like, I kind of hung out with just like the couple people who sort of got it.
Yeah.
And I kind of shut everybody else out to a certain degree. And then when I graduated from high school, like I don't know, I guess I also kind of like threw myself into like school and stuff senior year. It was like, well, I'm just going to like try really hard and get good grades and that's the thing I'll focus on instead of like trying to be friends with these people who I at this point just didn't get and didn't want to like talk to anymore.
You ever confront a kid for saying something stupid?
Oh yeah. It was like I was always like the problem with doing that in my hometown is you never got through to anybody. So like any argument was always just like met with what like the opposite.
Like what?
Like I was there was like stuff like where kids were like talking really terribly about this girl. At like a baseball game or something, and I remember saying something about how like they needed to chill out, and like this one dude like threatened to like punch me, like just because I said like cool out basically, and then like the kind of thing where they would just like call you a fag because you like cared about something, like that kind of stuff.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah,
I came from a place where nobody got called fag.
Right. Yeah, and that's like I think that's what was so like. I realized that was like when I left and came back, I realized how different my experience was from like everybody else out there. Like, because even in North Carolina, even in like Raleigh or Durham, like a bigger city, like there's at least a bigger sample of people, so there are more people who feel the same way as me. But in my hometown, it really truly for my senior year felt like me against them. Like me against everyone, because anyone who I was really close friends with had graduated at that point. Because I had like two friends who were in grades above me who had graduated. So my senior year, I was like alone, and which is sad because there were people in my class. I'm sure that if I had just like let myself be interested in them, like I could have had friends. But I was just like so over it at that point that my senior year was just like a nightmare. And I ended up like I got good grades, and I ended up like going to college with like extra college credits, so made college easier.
Was it always a certainty that it would be UNC Chapel Hill that you'd be going to?
Yeah, that's funny because it wasn't. I applied to UNC Chapel Hill. I applied to UNC Wilmington, and because my two friends who had graduated went to Wilmington, and I got into Wilmington first. I got the acceptance letter from them, and I was admitted to their honors program. Like, it was like a good deal, and I was like, well, I think I'm gonna go to UNC Wilmington. My friends are there. I'm gonna go, and it's gonna be great. And my parents were like, you're gonna wait until you find out about Chapel Hill, because you don't get into UNC Chapel Hill and then go to UNC Wilmington, which is like such a weird thing to say. But it is true. It's like, if I got into UNC Chapel Hill, like, why would I not go there? And then I got into Chapel Hill, and I remember, like, being upset about going, like, choosing Chapel Hill over Wilmington, but, like, in the end, I think it was the right choice for me.
Missed a lot of nights at the beach.
Missed a lot of sightings of Dawson's Creek characters. Because that shoots in Wilmington. And had I known that I wanted to get into film, because at that point I didn't know that I wanted to do that. I didn't know that I wanted to be a director or anything. Had I known that, Wilmington would have been a good choice. Mostly because they have a film program, like a legitimate film program. And UNC Chapel Hill has a video camera and an old guy. Like, basically, that's the
comm department.
The like film department at UNC was like so. I mean, it was fine, and I shouldn't even badmouth it because it did great things for me. But like, compared to like the legitimate film program at UNC Wilmington, it's like, it's kind of nothing. So maybe if I had known that I wanted to get into filmmaking, it might have been a better choice. But in terms of like growing as a human being, I think Chapel Hill was a good choice because it was so far out of my comfort zone in terms of I didn't have any friends there. I was going there. I mean, I did luck out in that my first year my brother was there. My brother went to UNC Chapel Hill. But like my brother was not going to hang out with his little brother at college. So like I saw him every now and then, but like we didn't like hang out. But it was nice. He was actually in my first college class. The first class that I ever took in college, my brother was in it also.
Wow.
It was like an intro to jazz class that he had to like take to fulfill like some general college thing before he could graduate. And for my first day of college classes, my brother was sitting next to me, which was so weird.
Welcome to college.
Yeah.
It's a much bigger world.
yeah. But it was great. College was good.
Were you happy like in your freshman year?
Yeah. I think because the weird thing is I was going to school right as like Facebook was happening. Like Facebook's first year as like an open public thing was my first year at UNC. So like I got on Facebook like before I went and like sent messages to people that I found on Facebook who were going to UNC. It was like, hey, we should hang out when we get there. So like got there and there was like already like 2 or 3 people who I'd like talked to a little bit online before we had gotten there.
Anybody who you're still in contact with?
No. I don't know, unfortunately. Not for any reason other tthan the fact that we just live very different lives now. But
so we have a lot of friends in common, like Casey Trela, Katie McNeil, and a bunch, Will Donegan, and a bunch of other people. Yeah. But you were friends with all of them pretty much first. When did you meet those guys?
Strangely enough, Will Donegan and we met at Governor School. He went to Governor
Pre-college.
So I knew him. Didn't get his contact information when we left Governor School, and then like 2 or 3 days into college, just ran into him. I was like, "Oh, you go here," and then we became friends. And then Casey, I met my sophomore year, I think, through just another friend. And Katie, I met once I started to get like into the comm department and started getting into like making stuff because she was like big into that stuff. Yeah, those were all. It was weird because like my freshman year, my freshman year of college, I hung out with like a very specific group of people who were like not the people I ended up with, because I was like, this is a detail about my life. When I was in college, I was very like hardcore straight edge. Like I really bought into the culture of straight edge stuff. So all my friends. My best friends in like freshman year were like straight edge kids who like didn't drink, didn't smoke, didn't do stupid stuff, or stuff that I thought was stupid at the time.
But then you gravitated away from that.
Yeah, I think the thing that I realized that like I talk about this a lot actually. But I realized that like anybody who believes they're right too hard, I think is poisonous, and I felt like there was too much certainty in that group of people for me to be like really happy. And there was like so few gray areas, and like nothing was a discussion. And I think it like bled over into a lot of things, not just into their philosophies on like drinking and smoking and all that kind of stuff, but just into a lot of like more political stuff, and then just like social stuff. So it was just, I felt like I had to pretend to have that same conviction about things.
Yeah.
When really there's a lot more gray area in my mind. So I gravitated towards more like sort of level-headed, like sort of people who had less certainty in terms of how they lived their life or like what they knew about the world, you know.
Was that like Happy Campers, or is Happy Campers a different thing? What, Sweater Weather?
Sweater Weather. That was the band that I joined in college. Yeah, like that was like sort of the group of people that I sort of gravitated towards. And it's interesting because at the time, like Sweater Weather was, by all accounts, a Christian band. And I was never like a super religious person, but like I appreciated spirituality a lot. So like when I joined that band and like seeing them like they were, but what I liked about it and the thing that drew me towards it was it never felt like there was no motivation outside of like enjoying people, which is a thing that I like a lot. I enjoy people, so like being around people who really love people is like a cool thing for me, and that like was attractive to me. And I've always been like someone who's like I have some sort of like hint of spirituality, but it's definitely more nuanced than anything that people really believe these days.
I want to hear about it. What's your spirituality?
I think that I kind of look at it like this. We can break life down so far, right? We know we can break life down just further and further and further. Like we're atoms. Inside those atoms are these particles. Inside those particles are these separate components. Inside those separate components, there are these little smaller thing. So it's like for us to think that sort of the like universe ends with what we see. Like for us to think that like we're not part of something like bigger is so insane to me. So and I don't think that God is a dude or a person at all. I don't necessarily think that there is a God. But I think that like there is a higher order to life than what we experience. You know what I mean? Like I think things matter a lot.
And what are clues that have made you think that?
Just the simple fact, I think the proof that I need is just that we can break life down, so why can't we blow life up? You know what I mean? Like we are the like sort of nucleus and mitochondria of the earth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like the earth is that of the solar system. The solar system is that of the universe. The universe is that of a bigger thing. And I think it just keeps going. So I don't necessarily know what the repercussions of that are in my everyday life. I just know that like life is a cool thing and we're all part of something a lot bigger than each of us individually. So I think it sort of leads me toward a life of like loving the people around me and the things that happen to me, which I think is a good thing.
Really cool.
Yeah. But I respect people who need some sort of label on that to like make it make sense to them. But for me, I'm perfectly happy with like that weird nebulous definition of what my spirituality is. Hopefully my mom's not upset when she's heard me say that.
What would be her hope that you would say?
That I believe in God. Like, I think I think just her hearing the words that I don't necessarily believe there is a God would be very difficult for her to hear. Because my mom is not like, she's not super religious. I mean, she's like religious. She's very like spiritual, but she always kind of taught me and my brother to like believe what we feel, like believe what's in our heart, and don't just accept something because someone told you to. So like, she respects that, but she's for sure like, she's more along the lines of the sort of traditional Christian view of spirituality.
Do you feel like you've already encapsulated like what your evolution was in college, or was there more of an evolution that we haven't gone into?
I think I've like, I got there. I think that's like kind of where I ended. Like just like surrounding myself with people who care about each other, and like realizing that there are those kind of people out there, and like that. I think that's where like also, I mean, to tie this back into comedy. Like, I think that's where my sensibility as a comedian and as an artist in any way, like, sort of comes from. Like, I like, really appreciate comedy and, like, art in general that is, like, made with, like, care for humans. You know what I mean? Like, I enjoy watching people care about each other. And that's like when I'm watching like improv shows or like coaching improv teams, like that's like a note I give a lot. It's like, care about each other, because that's like I think that it's so much easier for me to laugh if I know that people are caring about each other. And it's the same way in any like sort of, it's easier for me to experience anything if I know that the people who are doing it care about each other.
Yeah.
So that's like, I think that's the like big thing for me. It's like, I just want people to like each other.
I really like that.
Yeah.
So you talked to Casey, you said you might move out here. He said, okay, I'll move too.
Yeah.
You and a bunch of people moved out.
Yeah.
And what was the beginning of your LA experience life like?
It was fun. It was interesting to me because it was so new. Like everything I was doing was so new. And I moved out here and I got a job almost immediately, which was crazy.
At Relativity or someplace else?
I worked at My iMedia, which was a DVD quality control company that a lot of people that I know have since worked for. It was like a very easy job to get at the time, but it was awful. But I like went and I worked.
It's you
watching DVDs,
quality controlling,
making sure that there's no
watching a movie 100 times in a row.
I like or like television shows, movies, reading subtitles. I would watch the same episodes of CSI Miami over and over and over again for a week in every language with every subtitle option, and it was it was like the most soul-sucking thing you could do. You're just sitting in a room alone watching a terrible TV show. Like, it wasn't good material. Like, we weren't watching good stuff. And it was just, like, the worst. And I, like, knew very quickly after starting that job that it was not what I wanted to do at all. And soon after moving out here, like, maybe, like, 6 to 7 months after moving out here, I started taking classes at UCB.
How'd you hear about it?
Through my friend C.C. Pierce, our friend C.C. Pierce. He had taken a class and he was like, he liked it. And like I knew people who had done CHIPS, which was like the UNC improv group, which you know about.
Because I did it.
Yeah, because you did it. But like, so I heard about people doing improv and I was like, that's an interesting thing. Like that could be really cool to try sometime. And then I just started taking classes and I fell in love with it, like very quickly. And I realized that like I wanted to get into comedy. I didn't know how, I didn't know like in what capacity, but I knew that I wanted to get into comedy. So I like started to think about like sort of getting out of this job and finding something that's more in the world that I wanted to live in. So I ended up getting a job at Mosaic Media Group, which is a management company that manages a lot of like comedians. So I got this like weird like hybrid job there where I like covered assistants' desks when they were out of town, but then I also did like all their like AV work. So I would like set up TVs for meetings and like do all that kind of stuff. But like I was like meeting like these managers who had like really great clients who were all like some of the best comedians in the world. So I was like in the mix there. But then a few months after that, like I needed more money. So I like left for this other job, Relativity Media, where I was like their like post-production guy, and it was like back to like that like soul-sucking day-to-day, just like I hated it. But like all the while I was doing improv 5 nights a week. Like I was rehearsing with groups, and I was doing indie shows when they would pop up and stuff, so I was like constantly doing comedy. And
you were doing a team called something with a bear in it?
Fat Magic Bear was my first improv team, formed out of people from a 201 UCB class.
Who's in that team?
It was me, Phil Eastman, Nick Michaels, Brian Moran, Claire Fogarty, Margaret Lewis, Jessica Jean Jardine, and Danny Mastrangelo. And it was great. It was like that was the first group of friends I made that didn't go to college with me. And that was like a year and a half after I moved out here. And that was the thing that really got me like plugged into comedy and like really like wanting to do it, was like performing with those guys and like rehearsing every week. And like I was in classes nonstop for like 3 or 4 years, and auditioning for Herald teams and everything. And then that all happened. Oof.
And you were simultaneously playing in Hi-Ho Silvero?
Yeah, I was in a band with Casey, who was in bands with in college. For like the first 5 years I was out here, I was also in a band with Casey, and like things were like sort of concurrently going. Like we were like, oh, we're moving up, we're moving up together, and that was like the big, like sort of like the turning point in my like career, both professionally in terms of the job I had, and like with like comedy, was making that choice of like, do I want to do music or do I want to do comedy? And like those two things came to a head last January, when I was going to be on tour with my band, with Hi-Ho Silvero, for 2 weeks. And the last weekend of that tour, we had 3 shows, but it was the same weekend that my sketch group, Big Grande, got into San Francisco Sketch Fest. So I was like, I had to make a choice, either stay on tour and miss my sketch show, which they couldn't do their show without me, or I had to leave tour and go do the sketch show. And I like thought about it, and I think the thought process for me was just like, for me, I see myself making money and making my life in comedy. I don't see myself making my life in money from music. So I like called Casey and just like broke the news to him, and it was like the first time that he had ever like really been like upset at me, and it was a very hard conversation for me to have, because I knew I was like dicking him over. Like I'm flying away from your tour that you planned for 3 shows. You're not going to have a drummer, and I'm going to be going to do comedy at San Francisco Sketch Fest. And like it was the first time that he like Casey ever really got mad. Well, I mean, I think it wasn't mad. I think it was like the initial just like, shit, man, like this sucks. And I got like really upset. Like I cried about it, which is interesting to me, because it was like letting him down, but like I knew that like that was like a thing I had to do. And I think from that, like that moment to now has been like a very like steady push towards like comedy actually becoming a thing that I can support myself on.
Yeah.
But it was like a weird, like it was literally the two things that I enjoyed literally coming to a head and having to make a actual choice about which to do in a moment. And so I ended up quitting Hi-Ho Silvero after that, because it was just like I didn't want to keep having that happen where I would have to pick comedy over music. And since then, the band has found a very good drummer, and they're putting out a new album very soon, and it's going to be great. So they're doing fine without me. And I'm doing well not in the band anymore. So I think it worked out for everyone.
Yeah. And you kind of proved to yourself how dedicated you were to comedy.
Yeah. And Casey and I have worked it out. He's not upset anymore, and we're still buds, which is good. And yeah, now it's just like my life now is 100% comedy. Or 88, what did I say? 81? 88%?
88%.
88%.
12% dealing with tragedies.
Yeah.
National tragedies.
Yeah.
when you were going for being on a Herald team and just doing a bunch of indie improv stuff, it felt to me like you had like a lot of confidence that you were going to get on a Herald team someday. Was that true? Did you have that much confidence about it?
I knew I was getting better, but I think I just sort of in every avenue of my life, I try to live my life without expectations, because I think that that's the way that you get, the way depression happens is you it happens with a chemical imbalance, but if you set yourself up to be upset if something doesn't happen, you're going to be upset if it doesn't happen. So I think for like 3 years, like right in a row, I like felt myself getting better, and I was doing good work, and I was like having a lot of fun, and I knew that I was never going to not audition each year. So for me, I think I mean a part of me knew like, well, at some point I will get on a team, but I'm never gonna go into my audition expecting it. So yeah, I don't know that I consciously was like, I'm gonna get on a team, but I did. I like knew that I was getting better, which I think is good to like be actively trying to get better, which I still am. Like I'm still like constantly working and like pushing myself to do better.
What's your biggest way you want to get better now?
I think that like when I first started out with improv specifically, I was very I was kind of thoughtless on stage. Like, I literally didn't think about what I was saying ever, and I just like went. I literally embodied like don't think, just like say whatever's in your brain, and it worked to a degree. But now when I watch, like, if I watch old tapes of shows that friends had taped, I'm a lunatic, and I hated what I saw. So then I, like, sort of course-corrected myself back over to the other side, like, of just being, like, super grounded and, like, really examining what's going on and, like, playing, like, from more of a, like, default to straight man setting. And I think what I'm working on now the goal I have for myself as a performer is to let myself have more fun, and trust that like all the work I've done to get myself to where I am will make it so I'm never back there. I'm never back to that just like shotgun blast on stage. Like I'm like a rifle that's like shooting at a very specific target. So I think that's the thing I'm like most interested in working on right now. Is just like getting myself to a place where I'm not afraid. I'm never afraid to make a choice that I'll have fun with in a scene or in life. You know, don't want to be afraid. Never want to be afraid, man.
You don't seem like you have a lot of afraid.
No, I'm pretty good. I'm good right now. I'm not afraid of anything at the moment.
And it seemed cool when you got on Winslow, like just. What a cool group of people that you already were friends with you got put on.
Yeah, we lucked out.
It was like actually like two people from UNC in addition to you who had been in Chips, like Marianne Mono, and then
two of my best friends, like two guys that I would consider my best friends, like Dan Lipper and Drew Tarver. Like we had started working together as like Big Grande, like a year before Winslow even started happening. So like that was like it was really great. Like Winslow is a team that is essentially made up of people who all know each other in some capacity and have worked with each other before. It's been really interesting to see how like we sort of meshed sort of so immediately. And you almost like, it almost feels like if we did the like meshing so early that like, you almost like, well, where do we go from here? You know, we already get each other. So that's been like, I think the constant sort of like, not struggle because it's been fun, but like figuring out like how to grow together.
Because you know it's a fun group of people, and now...
Yeah, how do we make it so it's a fun group of people who does great shows 100% of the time?
That's cool.
Yeah.
And I want to hear like your account of how Big Grande started. But before that, I feel like part of the story to get to Big Grande, like might like have the great opportunity.
Yeah,
somewhere, which was a group that
we did together.
It was you and me and Mano Agapian and Drew Tarver.
Yeah.
So 2 out of the 4 members of Big Grande.
Yeah, I think Drew and I think that of Big Grande, it sort of did happen in a very like, let's add another situation. So like, Drew and I first started working together with Great Opportunity. That was like, we'd met each other through another friend. We started working together on that. And then after that, Drew met Dan, and a 3-on-3 tournament was happening at UCB, and Drew and Dan wanted to do it, and they were like, well, let's get like a third, we need to get a third guy. So Drew asked me if I wanted to do it, and so we started Tall, Tall, Small, which was just the 3 of us, with me, Dan, and Drew. And we started doing shows as Tall, Tall, Small. We did the 3-on-3 tournament and like had a great show. Like it was really, really fun. Like we ended up like advancing into like the later rounds. Didn't end up winning, but whatever. And out of that, this manager saw us at the 3-on-3 tournament and like came up to us afterwards and was like, hey, do you guys have people? Like, do you have representation? Like, are you guys working on anything? And we were like, oh, we don't have people, but yeah, we're working on stuff. So we started very quickly like getting together and like thinking of like web series ideas, like TV ideas, because we were going to go and meet with this manager and talk about like what we were working on. So we had all these ideas for stuff, and then we went in and worked with it. We went in to talk to these managers, and they were kind of weird. Like we weren't really feeling them at all, but like they, they liked this one idea we had, and they're like, you guys should work on this. You should develop this and write a pilot or whatever. So we started writing this pilot, and then I don't remember how, but somehow Ryan got invited to like write with us. I don't remember who did it. I think maybe Drew or Dan like was like, oh man, you should come and like we like get together to write all the time, like once a week. Like you should come and like just like hash out ideas with us or whatever. So Ryan came to a meeting and we started working on this pilot together, and then it sort of just like unknowingly became a group. Like we became a thing, and started working on other stuff and performing together as Big Grande. And then we started writing, like when we started writing sketches, that was when we were kind of like, oh man, this is a really good thing. And we wrote our first sketch show 2 years ago that went up at the theater, and it was so fun. Was your favorite sketch on that show the same as mine? I love that sketch where you guys are like running the chase,
and there's all these
chase scene, yeah,
obstacle props.
That was like, it happens a lot with Big Grande, where the pitch for the sketch is not funny. Like Ryan pitched that sketch and he was like, what if it's like a chase scene from a movie, but we're just running in place, and like nothing's funny about that. But then we like really started to like get it on its feet and like work it out. We're like, oh man, like this is like, it's not funny in the classic sense, but it's fucking cool to watch. And that's kind of like what we're trying to do now, is like, I think having the 4 of us involved in creating everything, something has to be damn near perfect for all 4 of us to be like, yes. Yeah. And we don't do things unless all 4 of us are like, yes, that's good. So like writing sketch shows is very difficult for us because it's a lot of no. It's a lot of like, I don't think this is funny. It's a document of 30 sketch pitches where we've written 5 of them. But in the end, I think it like really works for us in terms of like quality, because we've had 2 sketch shows that like, there's not a stinker in them. Like I think that they're both head to toe like really great sketch shows, and they're like things that haven't been done before. Like that's like the sketches are like good ideas that are well executed, I think, and that's like what we try to do as a group. I think is to like sort of step just beyond where other groups might stop. But I don't know. We try. I don't know, Ben.
I mean, I love you guys, and
we love you, Ben.
As a whole group?
Yeah, we as a group love you.
Wow, that's cool. And I know a lot of people who worship you guys.
Oh, come on. Nobody worships us. Who?
Yeah.
Who? Name a name.
I don't want to out him. A guy I know.
Well, that's cool.
That's a big crush on you guys.
Oh, good.
I've heard a lot of people say that.
Yeah, I mean, we have fun, so hopefully we make it so other people can have fun.
I think of you as being a very confident person. You sort of exude confidence, and I think that's really cool. Do you always feel as confident as you're projecting inside of your head and body?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think everybody has moments of, like, being self-conscious or being, like, not feeling as confident. But, like, I'm confident in my skills. Like, I know that I'm good at executing a video sketch. I know I'm good at directing comedy. I know that I can take an idea from idea to screen.
What was your moment of biggest doubt since you've been out in LA?
That's interesting. I don't know. I think that, like, I'm the kind of person, I'll have, like, little mini moments. Like, moments of doubt that I'm just like, that's stupid. Like, you're fine. Everything's fine. You're going to be great. I think that, like, anytime I'm, like, forced into a situation where I have to perform in front of someone, an unreceptive audience, that is, like, I doubt myself pretty frequently in those cases. Like, anytime I've done, like, workshops with, like, improvisers that I'm, like, intimidated by, I think I, like, doubt myself as a performer, which is stupid. But I think that those are, like, probably the biggest moments of doubt are, like, when you feel inadequate in comparison to someone who's, like, in a position to judge you. And I think that happens. It happens a lot, but it happens in little short bursts. And I don't let myself get, like... I don't shut myself down, I guess. I just keep pumping.
You're a very good survivor.
Yeah, I'm a survivor. I'm a survivor!
On the flip side, can you isolate, like, a moment that exemplifies, like, the feeling of, like, hey, I think I might really make it out here?
Yeah. I think the first time that I actually felt like I could do something was when I directed a video for Medium Friends, which is Steve Slaga and Drew Tarver, called Call Waiting.
Such a funny video.
It's like, it was the first time that I, like, read a script, saw it in my head, and executed it exactly the way that I wanted to. And so, like, when I finished that video and we put it out and it got the response that it did, of just, like, overwhelming positivity. Like, that was the moment that I was like, oh, John, you're capable. Like, you're very capable of doing what you need to do and what you want to do. So, like, in those moments of doubt, just remember that you are capable of good things. And then those kind of moments keep happening when I do that again, or, like, I make another video that I'm like, no, this is exactly what I wanted it to be. It's kind of reaffirming that idea of just, like, don't ever doubt yourself. Like, I'm allowed to do the things I do because people trust me. And I should trust myself. You know? And I think that's where I'm at right now as an artist. That sounds so pretentious. But it's true. I feel like I'm at a place where I know that I'm capable of doing bigger, better things. And it's just the thing is finding that bigger, better thing to do.
Can you see a future where you don't get the success you want? Or do you just have a lot of confidence that's going to happen?
I have confidence that it's going to happen. I think that I'm prepared for it being a different thing than I expect it to be. I'm prepared because my life hasn't panned out to be exactly what I thought it would be. I've become excited about that. The idea that, like, I'm gonna like, something will happen. I don't know what it's gonna be. I don't know in what capacity I will sort of find my break. But, like, I know that at some point, I don't know when, and I don't know how long from now, how far in the future we're gonna have to look. But something's gonna happen, and I'm going to, like, find the success that the vision of success that I have in my brain. But I don't know what it'll be.
Is there a person whose career is kind of your dream career?
I think I only really know him peripherally, but I think Eric Appel has a pretty great life. As in terms of a comedy director who is like consistently working, and has just a wonderful family, from what I can gather from social media. And I think he's just such a cool guy, and still does improv at UCB every now and then. Like, that's the life I want. Like, I don't need to be like a Steven Spielberg. I just need to be a Jon Mackey who pays his rent and is happy with everything else in his life. So.
Well, I think it's gonna happen for you.
I hope so, Ben. I think it's gonna happen for you too.
Oh, thanks.
This interview is gonna be the one that gets you there.
This is the thing?
This is the one.
People are gonna listen to this and go, this guy's got something.
Mm-hmm.
We want him to write our movie.
Exactly.
Because he did that interview like that.
Exactly.
I don't see how people are going to make that.
Well, we'll have to see, Ben. We'll have to see. You don't know how it's going to happen, but it's going to happen.
Who would have that reaction?
A guy making a movie about interviewing. I don't know. Somebody.
So my movie has to be an interviewing movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's you interviewing people.
I don't want. That's not my dream.
Well, I'm sorry, Ben. I don't know what to tell you.
But thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you're so cool, man.
Hey, man, you too, dude.
I love the way you think.
We just high-fived everybody out there. You can see it on the little waveform on the computer.
Well, they can't see it.
You should post a screen cap. Cool, man.
Yeah, thanks for doing this with me.
Dude, thanks for having me, Ben.
Save my heart if you will stop projecting yours as hints and tips to solve all prayers. Well, we've been here 10,000 years and there's no less days to sing God's praise.
So I don't know about you, but I think Jon's pretty cool. If you want to see Jon perform live, you can see him almost every Monday with his Herald team Winslow at the UCB Theatre. Or look up Big Grande on the UCB website and you can see when their next show is. And if you type Jon's name, Jon Mackey, into Google, I bet you'll find a bunch of really awesome videos that he's both edited and directed. Special thanks to my producer, CZ Pierce, to Casey Triola for all the music in this episode, and to our sound editor, Joe Burge. Thank you for listening to On the Cusp. Beanie, 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 da-doom, doom, da-doom. That's your outro music.